Good evening, everyone. We have a small group here tonight, but I would like to take a moment to introduce myself. I am Jennifer O'Neill. I am the superintendent for Norton Public Schools. And tonight I have with me my central office team, Assistant Superintendent Brian Ackerman, Karen Winsper, Director of Technology, Casey Russo, Director of Special Education, Vinnie Searcy, Director of Counseling and Therapeutic Services, Christine Hadfield, who is our School Business Administrator, and Wade Lazat, who is our Director of Facilities. And we appreciate the time that you're giving us tonight to come out and chat with us. Throughout the night, I'm going to be asking you some questions. So, Mrs. Winsper, do people have the ability to unmute themselves if we and have a conversation such as this, since it's a small group? Or is
I
that something I need to do on my end?
I think you as the host might be able to unmute them. I think
Okay.
you can also allow them to talk if they were to raise their hand.
Okay. All right. We only have three guests, so I figure it could be a nice conversation for us just to kind of if people want to turn off their cameras, they're welcome to, or if they would just prefer to write in the chat, that's fine as well. Mrs. Winsper will make sure that we hit on everything that is in the chat as well. And then we are recording this, so we can come back and listen to it again in case we have any questions. But Dr. Ackerman is also going to be taking notes for us tonight. So we'll
And
kind of dive in.
can I interrupt you
Yes.
for a second, Dr. O'Neill? There is one participant. I don't know if you can see that person who has their hand raised. I don't know if you want to, how you want to handle participants who are looking to ask questions. Do you want to wait? Do you want to?
If there's a question now, we can certainly take it. They put their hand down, so I'm not sure if they meant to put the hand up.
Oh, I was just, you were asking if there was a way for us to talk, so I was just trying to, I put my hand up so I can tell you that we can't talk unless you give us a chance to.
So
Perfect.
hopefully we're good now. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Of
All
course.
righty. So I want to go through a couple quick slides before we got into the questions. So we put together a strategic planning committee that met for the first time earlier this week. And the goal of that group is to work together to help us create a new plan with those members actively engaged in the process and acting as representatives of their group. So we have parents and community members, we have staff members, and then we also have educators all as a part of that group. We want to identify effective targeted opportunities to get the community more involved. So like this particular item tonight for you guys to come out and answer some questions for us. And then we want to make sure that we really have two-way communication with our shareholders as well. So whether that is through community forums or small working groups, additional surveys that perhaps would go out to families, that's what we're working on as we go through this process. Our current strategic plan is called Vision 2026, and it focuses on three core areas. It looks specifically as developing the whole child, looking at academic, social, emotional learning, opportunities for enrichment and intervention, ways that we can build them as a citizen, etc. It looks at professional learning for our staff. And then it also looks at the portrait of graduate skill sets. So these are 6 core skills that we hope that all of our students retain by the time they leave us at the end of their time here in Norton. So that is what we focused on the last time, and our current strategic plan can be found on our district website underneath About Us if you're interested in taking a look at that a little bit more. So I'll start by diving in on our first question tonight. And this is really an opportunity for you to share some thoughts and ideas with us. So what school programs are important to you? They could be things that we currently offer or something that we don't offer at this time, but you would like to see us offer in the future. So please feel free to unmute if that is what makes the most sense for you, and share some thoughts and ideas with us. And if you're uncomfortable speaking out loud, you can also type in the chat if that is a better option for you. So I'll put the slide back up again. What school programs are important to you? So they can be things that we're currently offering or something that you would like us to see offer, you would like to see us offer in the future.
For us, it would be art or things that build on the kids' creative side.
Absolutely. How old are your students?
So my son is in kindergarten, LGN,
Yeah.
and then my other one just turned 3, so he's going to be joining preschool in September.
I'm 6.
Oh, hi, buddy. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you.
David shared that after school care is really helpful. I'm glad to hear that. We definitely have a great partnership with our Champions program at JCS and LGN and at the Yale School. Hi, Karen. Programs for kids who don't do sports. I agree. Tech, STEM, arts, music, bands, drama, and more. I had the opportunity to go watch the middle school play drama practice earlier this afternoon, and we're still a ways out from showtime, but they're doing an incredible job over there. Thank you, Stephanie. Reading fundamentals, world language. Now I know Karen has a middle schooler and a high schooler. Stephanie and David, would you be willing to share how old your children are? Kindergarten, second in preschool. Great, thank you. All righty, let's go to the next question. How can we ensure a sense of belonging for all students across Norton Public Schools? And I promise we're all really friendly people. Mr. Barrett, our JCS principal, is here now as well. So if you want to just talk or turn on your camera, it's certainly up to you. We welcome any feedback that you're willing to give us tonight. How can we build a sense of belonging for all students across NPS?
One of the main things that comes to mind for me is because we are multicultural. So just like integrating that a little more, knowing like this month is Ramadan for us. So just having more talks about that. Like it's harder for my son in kindergarten to explain that to his friends because he's still young. And then he says he's not
Absolutely.
comfortable telling them about it because they don't know it and they're not going to understand. So I think just having more integration or seeing if some parents are willing to do volunteer things in the school to talk about it. And then this obviously extends to all different kinds of multicultural things.
Thank you, Isha. I think that's a great point. That's a great way to make sure that we ensure that sense of belonging for our students.
Hi, Dr. O'Neill. I think my feedback
Stephanie?
would be is trying to find a way to bring the Norton community into the school community and vice versa, because I feel like a lot of times we're trying to make sure our school community is strong, we have what we need for it, right, to make our students successful. But I think there's a disconnect when we don't have the Norton community intertwined, so that there's an understanding between both, right? And making sure that the needs of the school are understood by the Norton community and vice versa. So a sense of belonging, I think, is not just within the school, but how do we think about it across the town or across different generations?
Thank you, Stephanie. My team, please feel free to jump in too if you hear something that you want to respond to while we're all here. So, I think that's a great point. And I actually think that sometimes the people that live in the community but don't have children in our schools, they don't understand how multicultural our school community is. Our town has really grown over the years, which is wonderful. But people don't have a true idea of the picture of our schools and our students. David, thank you. Creating inclusion opportunities within the classroom, like having examples of different types of families, identities, and other things within assignments, administrative processes, and fun. It's a great point. Thank you.
Jen, if I could just jump in for a minute.
Please, yeah.
Um, one of the things we have an elementary library media specialist that she used to work across 3 buildings, and she's currently just part-time across the JCS and the LG. And speaking to trying to bring the community in, she was instrumental in bringing back the library programs in our schools, but also with getting our senior citizens to come in and volunteer within the especially the LG. She has quite a group of volunteers, and they actually get tax breaks, which is really nice. So she's very good about making connections through the town hall and through the senior center. So that's, we can't have an overabundance of volunteers that we can't manage, but it's a start, and it's one small way. But perhaps in the specialist areas, I think with the creative arts might be a way. And I do know for a fact at our high school, I know most of the parents and guardians here today are speaking to, the elementary level, but I know maybe Mr. Searcy could speak to the high school level as well. But we have students who go to the community center. They're going to I want to say it was world language, correct me if I'm wrong, but they went and sang around the holidays. So I know that there are partnerships within the community trying to make the connections.
Yeah, we actually at the high school do a number of things like that with different organizations, honor societies go out, some of the booster clubs as well. I know both as an employee, but back in the day when my son was on the hockey team before I was here in Norton, we went out and did cleanups at the veterans facility and so forth. So we try our best. I actually have some of our senior citizens coming in to help with the AP testing, and again, yes, they're going to get some tax breaks as well as part of their volunteer hours. So we do try to do that. But any ideas, we're always looking for ideas to bring the kids and folks in the community together. So
Thank you both. Mr. Barrett commented, I think we want to help each student have at least one safe adult that they connect with at school. And that adult doesn't need to be their teacher. Absolutely. Every child should have at least that one person. Stephanie, community partnerships are great mechanisms. It would be helpful to get more awareness on these items. Champion and market these wins. Absolutely. Thank you, Stephanie. We've got a really great communications intern from Norton High School. His name is Benson, and he does a great job with a lot of our photos. So we'll have to put him on putting together some info for an upcoming newsletter. All right, next question. What are the roles and responsibilities of families in supporting your student in their learning as they progress through Norton schools? And so we have everything here from preschoolers and elementary age students to high schoolers. So I know those things look a little bit different if you have a kindergartner versus a high schooler. What do we think the responsibilities of families are?
So I think that we've had, in terms of roles and responsibilities of families, from my perspective, we've got a pretty active CPAC, our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. We've got some PTO, SPO, PT, whatever all the acronyms are for all of the different buildings having their own
school-based parent boards. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, whatever acronym they choose to go by, that have done some really amazing fundraising for playgrounds and things along those lines have been really great. I think we've had some parent volunteers in for different things and stuff, so things like that. But I mean, just maintaining that level of communication and transparency with schools and vice versa is really important. We have kids for 6.5 hours a day, and then families have them for the other 18 or 17 and a half, I should say. But maintaining that, so there's we're with your children a lot, but you are the primary source of information and support. And we really want to be able to partner with families to make sure that the kids are getting their needs met across the board.
Thanks, Casey. Great point. David said helping with homework, reading at home. That's what they try to do. Stephanie said partnering with school leaders, communication, advocating for your children. Absolutely.
I think a part of it is also understanding that the learning process does not specifically only happen in school, but a lot of it happens at home. Because, like you said, there's like the 18 hours that they're spending at home, and that's the chance, or that's the time that parents should be using to actually teach their children not just actual learning like reading, writing, and math, but also just general how to act outside, how to like just manners and all those things that are very hard to get if you're not teaching them at home. It's very hard for them to actually apply them outside when they're in public.
Thanks, Aisha. Absolutely. Like, as Casey said, you guys, we have your students a lot, but they're with you more than they're with us. And that strong partnership between school and home is so vitally important. Um, Karen said, for us with teens and tweens, we make sure they sleep well and get a good breakfast. Karen, I can't get my teens and tweens to eat before they go out the door in the morning, so I give you a lot of props. Check in regularly on their grades and assignments, as well as checking in daily about what's going on at school. And, as a parent of a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old, I get very limited information sometimes, like, how was school today? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. And so trying to engage them and bringing out a little bit more, asking specific questions about what happened. Who did you sit with at lunch? Or what did you learn about in science today? What was the topic? Gets me a little bit more sometimes with my kiddos. So the next question is almost exactly the same, but instead we're asking what we think the roles and responsibilities of students are and in their own learning as they go through Norton schools. What do we think the roles of students are? Oh, thanks, Brian. Okay, this is for parents. Consistent school attendance. Yes. Reaching out for a supportive hand. So if you're having a trouble getting your child to school, we're always, working with families to help get kids here. So you can always reach out to us if there's an issue. Thank you, David. Paying attention in class, being respectful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those lessons that we try to teach at home. I love the projects and assignments that that gives students a chance to choose what they're interested in and or give them a space to be creative. Yes, absolutely. When students can really focus on their own strengths in academics and show what they know, it's a great way to do that. Yeah. How, as developmentally appropriate, how we as a school can help.
So as the director of guidance, I have to say they need to self-advocate for what they need, what they're looking to do, seeking out support when they need it, um, seeking out support for others, maybe their friends when they need it. So I definitely think that's part of it, and that also will help to develop a sense of belonging.
Thanks, Vinny. Thank you, Stephanie. Active and present participation, learning to make mistakes. Yes, we all have to make mistakes if we want to succeed, right? And then communicate, just going along with what Mr. Searcy just said, advocating for yourself, telling your teacher or whoever you're working with what you need to be successful. That's a really tough skill for a lot of adults. And so we always try to help kids figure out how to self-advocate. All righty. What strategies can we use as a district to improve student achievement? As people may know, across the state, we used to be, well, we are responsible for giving the MCAS assessment to all of our students in grades 3 to 10. That's our state assessment. However, recently they just took away the graduation requirement as part of um, some recent legislation. But we look at a lot of other things besides MCAS scores. We look at reading success by grade 3. We look at writing and math. We do a lot of local assessments on a continuous basis to see how our students are performing. And then we look at ways that we can support them through targeted interventions to be successful. Do you, as families, have any strategies that we could use to help improve student achievement?
Hi, this is Stephanie. I think I'm trying to find the right words of how to explain my thought, but having there's a willingness and an openness, right, for communication. It's an underlying theme that obviously I keep bringing up, but I think the idea of having the family, the home unit, understand better what is happening on a day-to-day basis. Like what is the curriculum, what are activities kids are being set up to do, and obviously my children being in elementary, having better visibility into what that is. I can try to give, more prompts at home, or I can try to engage them with questions, or I can try to make sure that, if there's a principal or learning opportunity that we could try to bring home, they would correlate to what they're learning in school. I think it might help us try to achieve what they're supposed to be grasping in the moment better. But if we're not, as aware, to your point, we're kind of like, hey, how was science class? Or hey, how was this? Versus like if we're trying to get in more into the weeds with them. I'm wondering if that helps them be more successful if they get it at home and at school.
Mhm.
I'm not sure what that looks like, but just, the opportunity to try to be more involved.
I like that. And I think it's because often when our students come home, they can't always verbalize what they did at school today. And they can't share it with you always in a way that helps you understand how you can continue to work with them. So and I don't know, I think probably every teacher does this a little bit differently in terms of how they share what's going on in classrooms, but maybe curriculum updates or, sharing resources with families on a consistent basis that gives them ideas of what you can do at home to enhance the things that we're working on day to day in the classrooms. And of course, as the students get a little bit older, it gets a little bit more challenging. Um, Not all of us are proficient in middle school math anymore, which makes it tough sometimes. But it definitely giving parents that option or just an idea of what's happening. I appreciate that, Stephanie. David said, Gigi, the penguin. We love Gigi. Everyone loves Gigi. Seems to be working at the kindergarten level. Your daughter is excited to earn the new Gigi cards. Every once in a while, Gigi comes and visits school, and we never know who is going to be inside the Gigi costume each day. So that's really fun. And we do that across all of our schools, K to 5. Karen said, options for diverse learners. Some SEL lessons are in programming around grit and determination. That's a really tough skill for kids. Vinny, do you want to talk a little bit about Character Strong?
Absolutely. So we do have a SEL curriculum that goes K to 8, and the teachers provide lessons. And I know they may not use those exact terms, but the lessons themselves do carry information, not just about kind of emotional understanding your emotions and regulations, but also on how to persevere, how to overcome things that are challenging or frustrating, and how to manage that. How to, again, self-advocate and seek out assistance when needed. So the Character Strong absolutely covers a variety of those kinds of topics. And then for the high school this year, we have MyCap, which is kind of more focused on college and career, but still very important soft skills, right? That we hear from the businesses that they want and the colleges want from kids. And then we also back that up with Navigate 360, which again, what we've done at the high school is kind of taken a look at our academic calendar and broken our lessons based on kind of what the year might bring and for in terms of challenges. So, at the beginning of the year, it might be about building relationships and friendships and healthy relationships. Later on, around AP time, we start talking about managing anxiety and time management and those kinds of skills. So we definitely do that. Oh yes, right. We do monthly. Character Strong has monthly traits.
Well, looks
Mr.
before this
Barrett.
month was perseverance.
Yeah.
And then Stephanie said, GG Raz Kids offering subscriptions that could work at school and home.
Hmm.
Thank you. All righty, let's see.
And Dr. O'Neill, if I could
Yes,
just
please go
jump
ahead,
into
Karen.
that.
Yep.
Stephanie, we had many subscriptions at one point, but had to make some difficult decisions when we had to cut some software from the budget due to a challenging budget. So unfortunately, we did have to cut Raz Kids. So hopefully we can
No,
bring that back.
no, understanding, Karen. I think what I was trying to articulate there is just how can we tie success of kids is maybe
100%.
having opportunities of subscriptions be extended to home
Yeah.
regardless of what is in scope.
I also do think we do have some things that students can use outside of the classroom. I do think one of the things that I was just thinking about at all levels is communication and how teachers are communicating with families and the methods that they're using to communicate, and whether that is something that we could do better on our end to streamline that process. So that is certainly something to think about.
I was thinking the same thing, Karen Winsper, because I feel like there's got to be a better way for us to be able to share some of those things that are available, right?
Well, we do have Parent Square, and
Yeah.
everybody has access to Parent Square. All
Mm-hmm.
teachers have it, and then we've tried to encourage the texting piece
Yeah.
of Parent Square, which is kind of like the Remind that kind of like our middle age teachers really, really like. So we
Middle grade
definitely-
teachers, not middle-aged teachers,
I
right?
said grade.
Okay, I didn't know if I heard you.
Sorry. I would be the middle-aged teacher, right? No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we definitely need to look at that communication, I think, all around.
That would be great. Oh, Christine is saying, okay, so Paul asked, do families find regular and weekly updates from the schools helpful via Parent Square and social media? And then Christine said, she has a fourth grader and a third grader. She's a Norton mom, in addition to being our Norton business administrator. Some teachers do give parents access to ST Math and or other math and reading platforms, which is helpful as they get older. So I guess we'll ask Mr. Barrett's question. Do you as families find regular and weekly updates from the schools helpful? And then we'll go on to our next question.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I think one other thing, and this might be for the higher level, because I am a grad student right now, like in Bridgewater State University. So I deal with the students who are coming in as freshmen, undergrads, and there's a big disconnect between the world they had in high school and then college life, even learning wise, like the papers that they have to write, they're so shocked, they're so overwhelmed. I think this is something that, like, just trying to bridge that gap between the jump between high school and then between college and the things that go on there.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Aisha. And then David said yes, because my daughter doesn't elaborate on what they talked about in school that week. Join the club, David. It's a tough one, right? All right, let's see what we got here. What areas can we improve upon to develop well-rounded, productive citizens? So it's, Aisha, I think this is kind of similar to what you were just talking about, that big jump between high school and college. And it's hard for us when we have young children to think about developing them into productive citizens. What can we improve upon as a school community?
I think there's this concept of like when you bridge the gap to Aisha's point about going from high school to becoming an adult, right? And I'm not as experienced what Norton is offering in the high school at this point, but like readying them to like pay bills or be aware of like running their own household or, you know, the idea about going and voting. And like I'm just kind of curious, is like, is there something that goes towards that? And then, you know, as you get to the transitions between say elementary to Yale and Yale to middle school, so like, you know, thinking about how we prepare them for that next step, right? Like, what does that look like? Is it, I know we'll do like, you know, go tour around town, but like, what if there's a way to kind of like shadow what's going to happen next? Like, do they spend a half day someplace and go see what the new school looks like and kind of get into the next shoes before they're there? Like, is there a way to kind of give them a sneak peek?
Does anyone want to touch upon that?
So we have step up days. Specifically, I can talk in a little bit more detail about what happens between the middle school and the high school. But for the eighth graders, the high school administration goes down to start, meets with all the kids, kind of comes in and out of their classes, just starts to have a friendly face. We bring our academic coordinators over, and we do a presentation to the eighth graders about kind of the different departments and what's offered. And then the guidance department comes in at a different point, and we do a presentation on kind of the differences, like what are credits? What does that mean? What does graduation mean? And we talk about that. And this year we brought over some high school students who also talked kind of about, in particular, the world language, but in general, what it's like to be a high school student. And then at the, I think this year it's going to be on June 10th. We have the entire eighth grade come up, and we break them up into about 3 cohorts. One meets with the administration to kind of go over expectations and the differences. And then one goes for a tour, and then one group meets with students, and they kind of talk again about the difference between high school and middle school in terms of their, what it's like to be a student, what it's like to, what's the differences. In those cohorts rotate. So we try to do that, and I know there's things that they also do at the other grade levels. I'm not quite as familiar on that details. But one other thing I wanted to mention is at the high school, we actually just started a personal finance elective that we're trying to talk about some of those life skills that they're going to need to know as young adults. So definitely something we're thinking about and trying to figure out how to grow those kinds of electives and programs into their day.
Yeah, I think
go ahead,
sorry,
Katie.
to piggyback off of what Vinny is saying there, I think that the Mr. Gagan and Mr. Balawa at the Yale go down to the JCS and the LG, and they spend some time down there to get familiar with the third graders who are coming up to fourth grade. They talk to them. They at lunch they eat, they answer questions, and then the third graders will come up to the Yale for a transition day as well. Similarly, with the fifth and sixth grade, Mr. Hayward, Mr. Goldstein will come down to the Yale, visit with kids, and then they'll have another transition day up to the middle school. On another note, we do also add in usually an additional day for our students who are in our specialized programs. For those transitions, it can be very overwhelming for them when they go with the whole group, the whole grade level. So we offer them an additional day to go up to have a smaller, more focused visit as well when they're doing transitions between buildings. Additionally, Dr. Ackerman and I have been working with our teachers to do some transition visits between building grade levels as well. So we started with our pre-K and K special education staff to get to do some observations and really get a more logistical, hands-on first person point of view of what expectations are in preschool for kindergarten teachers, and conversely for preschool teachers to see what kindergarten is. And when they're going from a class of 15 kids with 2 staff to a kindergarten classroom with a teacher and maybe some para support if there's special education students are in there or whatever, to help guide our professional practice in terms of writing goals and objectives and developing expectations and lessons for kids as they prepare for those transitions. So that's definitely something that we're working on as an administration with our staff as well.
And if I could just jump in and piggyback off of Casey, I do know, and this is to speak to Karen's comment, just to make sure that there's space for arts and music and such, because At the elementary level, there's music and art and STEAM, but there's not necessarily drama. So at the middle school, there is the, huge drama production that they have. It's typically the fifth graders visit the middle school so that they can see the drama production in the spring. So that is always a highlight for them.
I can't add anything to that, you guys. That was very comprehensive, everybody. So nice job. And so Karen also said critical thinking skills and how to learn versus busy work and memorization. I couldn't agree with that more. We have lots of conversations about mastery of learning versus compliance in learning. So I appreciate that. All right. Only have a few more questions, and this one might be target. Well, this is for everybody. We would love to hear what everybody thinks. How can we improve family engagement at the middle and high school? So the majority of you here tonight are elementary parents. What can we do to get parents of older children more engaged within our school community? Whether that is attending events at schools or participating in district-wide events. It becomes more of a challenge when students get older. I can keep going if no one has anything for that one. And
Can I just say something,
yeah,
Jen?
sure, please.
I mean, my kids, I'm so old. My kids are like really old. They're in their 20s. And so I just remember when they were in high school, thinking maybe they don't want me to go to school, to see their teachers and to be engaged at all. But it was still important for me to meet their teachers and to see what they were doing. So I feel as though we still want to engage families, and whether that is showcasing in the art nights. I know for a fact, like I always love to go and see the artwork that the high school students create. That is just an amazing opportunity for the community and the parents to come out. But even just the STEAM night that we had not too long ago, inviting the middle school students to come. We did have a lot of middle school parents, because those kiddos can't drive, who, ended up coming. So I think if we can try to engage families in more curriculum based, or just trying to engage them in more activities to demonstrate that academics are still important, or activities, whether it be drama at the high school or art, or, not just sports and such, but that is a piece of it as well.
Thank you, Karen.
I'll speak to this because it feels like it's my age group of my kids. I mean, we still try to attend as much as we can, and I mean, but we see the difference in meet the parent nights, and we show up and there's only a few parents in the classroom. I do think that it's an interesting. I was saying I don't know if I have the answer, because I think some of the parents are probably fatigued, because they are, by the time your kids get to middle and high school, if your kids are in sports, some parents, it's all the same parents, are volunteering for boosters, and they're volunteering for different things, and they're just tired. But I do think there's also an element of, like, once your kid gets to middle school, there is a message that the kids should be doing it themselves, and that the communication drops off. And so there is a message to parents, like, let your kids do it. So I think there is a balance there around how much are we supposed to be letting our kids pay attention to announcements, and how much are we supposed to be, like, doing that, and then also how much are we supposed to be paying attention to those announcements as well. But for events, I mean, we try to go to all the events, and I don't know, maybe it is a little bit of, I'd say have the kids invite their parents, but to Karen Winsper's point, maybe the kids don't want their parents to be there. So I wish I knew what the answer was to this one, because this is a tough one.
It is a tough one. Thank you, Karen.
Karen, I
appreciate
think that's a great point you make about that balance, though, of they need to do it themselves, and not, overdoing it, but keeping an eye out. So I never kind of thought of it that way. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And Brian said, provide more opportunities to celebrate. Absolutely. And I think, Karen, you were saying like the art show, you know, the play, like all those things, everyone comes out for those. How can we do that more with other things too? All right. So what approach can we take to help foster a connection between students, their peers, and their teachers? What can we do to help foster a connection between students, peers, and their teachers? Oh, yes, like the spotlights at the school committee meetings. Yes, we like doing those. It's fun to celebrate kids. And then we get parents out to school committee meetings as well. Not everyone stays. Most people leave, but it's okay. They still come. What approaches can we take to help foster a connection between students, their peers, and their teachers?
To that.
Champion, thank you, David. The Champions program has helped my daughter make friends across different age levels. Absolutely. When they're all together, they get to see other familiar faces and it creates a nice school community. They walk by each other in the hallway, they make a little wave. We're very fortunate to have the Champions program here in Norton.
So one of the things that we've tried doing is that we have our STEP classroom at the JCS that has created a book buddies program with the STEP prep program up at the high school.
Oh, that's
And
awesome. Piece.
and so creating that connection for the younger kids to see the older students that have been where they are and being able to make those connections. So I think, and like Vinny was saying earlier, having some of the high school kids come down to the middle school during those course selection things to talk about what they're experiencing. So I mean, we're trying to put as many of those programs and initiatives into place to build connections for kids across grade levels, like you mentioned there, David, to really to see to see not necessarily a light at the end of the tunnel, but to see how their paths have progressed and give them a little bit more of an opportunity to see what life is like once they get past third grade or fifth grade or whatever it might be.
Yeah, high school kiddos reading to elementary students. When I taught second grade at JCS, we had a kindergarten book buddy classroom, and we would go every other week. And sometimes they would come to our class, and sometimes we would go to their class, and sometimes we'd meet in the library and get fancy. But always fun to bring kids across together.
Karen Drain has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Karen. Go right ahead.
No, that's fine. I
Thank
was going
you,
to say
Karen.
that sometimes it's the extracurriculars that really make those connections.
Mhm.
I mean, my middle schooler this year, I mean, I would not have expected, but some of the best teacher connections he has made is through his after school clubs that he did, and how connected he felt there. And then when he meets those teachers in specials later on in the year, he's like, he's already got a connection with them. And and Rebecca's up at the high school this year, and she's noticed the high school does it really well. With the, I don't know, they play music on Friday afternoons, and the different departments do fun. They did Pi Day, and she's noticed it, that like it's those little things that you remember and the little things that make a difference.
I was actually going to say, I thought that the middle school actually does their clubs very well. I feel like they have, whether it be the cubing club that they start at the middle school that then extended up to the high school, robotics, they do the different TV video, like there's so many different things at the middle school that I feel like if a student is not purely an academic student, if they have other interests, they're going to connect with peers in a different way. And I think you said it beautifully in terms of connecting with teachers in a different way as well.
I'm going to say one of the things I think we do well at the high school, although it can be the bane of my personal existence, is all the electives. Because I think many of the electives are what teachers are passionate about. And as students have an opportunity to go and try different things, whether it be computer science, whether it be art, whether it be something in business or technology, woodworking, they get to be with teachers who are also passionate, and oftentimes with other students who find that passion. And that I see as a really strong place for kids to build those connections amongst themselves and with their educators. So it's a challenge in terms of scheduling, and we spend a lot of time. My guidance counselors spend a lot of time during ad drop trying to make sure that students can get into the electives they want, um, because we really do believe that's a great way for them to find some joy and some connections at the high school, and when maybe drudging through math, if math is not their thing, they get to look forward to that art class or to that robotics class down, the next block. So how
And Aisha also said the lunch bunch was really helpful for her son. Yes, lunch bunches are awesome. And kids get to invite their friends. It's so great. It's such a great opportunity to have like a small little personal connection with a teacher and a few kiddos. It's really great. I've got two more questions for you, and I'm hoping that our group will be willing to answer these last two questions. So the first one says, how can Norton Public Schools support families in improving student attendance? We all know that it's so important for students to be in school because they need to be here so we can help them with their learning. And the more days they miss, the harder it is to get caught up. So are there ways that we can help families improve student attendance? Having 1 week of spring break instead of February and April, having more time off at winter break when we actually have time to travel. Okay. I like that idea, David. I'll put out the last question too, so people can answer either of them as we're thinking about this. The last question is, how do we get more information from people who were unable to participate tonight or unable to complete the survey? So tonight we have 4 of you lovely attendees and double the amount of panelists, 8 panelists, 4 attendees. How can we get other people involved? Do you have any insight as to ways that we can reach out to those families that are not able to join us in an event like this or not able to complete a survey? What are your thoughts?
Dr. Neal, I wish I knew the answer to this one. I feel like I'm always trying to get people to care about stuff.
Well, and that's
like,
why when
please,
you pop up,
please.
it says KD, and I said, "There's Karen Drain. I know who it is because you come to all my events, and I appreciate it."
I know, and I'm like, people need to get here. I don't know, and if it's not this, it's other things that I'm like, come, please be informed. So I don't know what it is. I mean, I think that the schools do great with communication. I mean, I get parent square messages, and each of the schools are doing newsletters, and I'm getting superintendent newsletter every week and emails, and so I don't know. It's not for lack of information. I just don't know where the people are.
So Karen, I also think that kind of goes back to the comment that you made earlier when we were talking about engagement and stuff and how or getting people to go to things. So like my children I have a sophomore in college and I have my youngest as a senior in high school this year. And I was a very active parent in terms of different boards and coaching things. And well, I didn't coach things, I'm not going to lie, but involved in in youth sports and things along those lines and doing a lot of volunteer work. And I still do. My son is a senior right now and we're working on our post prom party committee and it's supposed to be all underclassmen parents that are running it so senior parents can enjoy it. But this year in my town, it's all senior parents that are running it. We're afraid of what's going to happen next year for the kids that are coming up. And if we're still going to have to run it, even when our kids are gone. So I think that there's something has changed. I don't know if it's post-COVID or what happened, but there's definitely it's a challenge across everywhere. I think for getting people to engage and to participate. And Karen, I truly appreciate, like Jen was saying, having you available for so many events and activities and things that are here. But it's a challenge when it's really seeing the same faces over and over and sharing the same messages. So if there's anything that we can do to help participate and grow that, we would love to.
David
Casey,
said perhaps sending papers home as well. I agreed. I think sometimes people don't read emails. I think you're absolutely right, David. I'm sorry, Karen, did I interrupt you?
oh, sorry, I was gonna say to Casey that the music parents program at the high school Matt and I joined this year, and all the other board are seniors, and so I guess him and I are taking it next year.
Good luck with that.
I want to go back to the same point that you said. I don't think there's a lack of communication on your end. I mean, like you said, we received the parent square messages, we received the emails, the reminders. Like I myself have recently started volunteering with the LGN PTC to help like more social media outreach. And I think, trying to post all those things multiple times with multiple reminders, but still not getting that increased presence from parents is more of a parents not really trying to be engaged kind of issue. And I think that also goes back to the previous question with the attendance, because if the parents are not trying to get their kids to go to school, the kids themselves aren't going to push for it either. So I think both of like the solution for both of those questions and situations are the actual parents' engagement. And I'm not sure what to do about that. Like you either get the parents who want to actively participate and volunteer and be present, or the parents who just don't. And like we are also facing that same issue with the LGN school and like the parents over there and the outreach.
Thank you, Aisha. I agree. And it's hard because when you get, you do certain things, you do see the same faces over and over again. You do see the same names. And so we are so appreciative for you guys to you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for spending part of your evening with us. If you think of anything else that you think would be important to this process, please don't hesitate. Send me an email, give me a call. I would love to have a conversation with you. So thank you all for your participation tonight. And if anyone has anything else to share, I'll stay on for a few more minutes. But otherwise, have a great night. Thanks for coming, David. Thanks for coming, Aisha. Thanks for coming, Karen.